Hey there. Hi, it's me. We got to talk about rent and how rent is crawling fast in the upward direction and how it's insane how they're allowed to do this to us.
Hey yo, I'm yapping here. What the like, subscribe, let's get it.
I hope you guys are having a good day otherwise. I know I was having a good day until I remembered it was getting closer to first, about that time to pay rent. But like I was saying earlier, rent is really, it's not even, I wouldn't say crawling anymore. It's kind of sprinting really fast in the opposite direction. And I'm worried, but I'm sure everybody else is worried as well. This is currently happening to all of us. And again, I'm not even a worst case of it now. Rent for studios and one bedroom apartments should not be over $1,400, period. It shouldn't even be over $1,200 in my opinion, period. Let's get this out the way first. A studio apartment where the living room and the bedroom and the kitchen are in the same place or in the same room should at most be $1,000. I don't know what they charge more than that for when the space can't accommodate literal family gatherings. Like, I don't know if anybody else has tried to have a Thanksgiving in a studio apartment, but me, I'm not willing to. I'm not willing to do it in a one bedroom apartment because I barely have enough room for, the table to get to my one bedroom with the dinette, and dinette in quotations because I can barely fit much in there, And speaking of hosting people over at an apartment in today's, economy, have you ever tried to host your family over at your house with a roommate? Like, take that and multiply the issue by 2. At least then you can get the roommate to give space, right? And they may be a part of the family, but in a studio apartment or a small one bedroom, the issue isn't that like you live alone in a unit that can't help you host your family for the occasional dinner. You're 32 or over 30 at this point. I'm sure most of us are. This is the age that, at least I predicted that I would be at least starting to think about permanent housing or permanent lodging. And the only permanent lodging I get to round up is maybe my mom's house if it's not already full, which it probably is because, shout out to mom, big ups to mom. But everybody's struggling, and I don't need to be through the revolving door if everybody's struggling when everybody's struggling. You know what I mean? It's not even generational housing. It's as I'm sure most of us are not living in generational housing at this time, unless we're like first generation immigrants. I'll say first generation immigrants. Because a lot of the times they end up, at least in my experience or from my, understanding, living in those type of situations for the benefit. Don't get me wrong, they're doing better than I am. But most of us kind of don't have that set up, at least people who've been in this country for an extended period of time, I want to say. Especially in the city centers. It's definitely more of an issue in city centers than it is out in rural areas, but I'm not really focusing on that right now because I've never lived in a rural area. I really hope I don't have to because I don't think I'm built for that. But we're getting off topic. The point I was trying to make was that multi-generational housing was the move, but we kind of let corporations finesse us out of that deal with the wonderful myth of independence. And don't tweak on me. Independence is desired wholesale on this channel. I really wish I could afford my individual lodging to be by myself or just be unfettered in my existence, right? Not necessarily by myself, but able to afford something for me and my partner consistently without any worry, for example, right? But after paying all the bills and looking at rent and looking at the checks and the receipts from that, it's feeling more fantastical than it is realistic. And it wasn't so fantastical back when the social contract of work that's kind of been broken and reneged on countless times in my lifetime, at least, was upheld. So we should look into changing up the rules, but like, how should we approach it, right? How do we get into that? Like I was stating earlier, we used to have a social contract regarding work, but like now that's over and done with. So what should we do with that? If the standard ladder or the standard way to get into a certain way of life has been broken, how do we fix the bridge the gap, so to speak? Well, I'm gonna tell y'all a little secret about what I think we should be doing. And it's not something that everybody says, and it's not something that everybody does, right? It's some real deep knowledge stuff, real deep cut shit. So lock in with me. The secret is we're not really working hard enough. You know what I mean? We're not working hard. We should work harder, dog. Like, we all love that and have been yearning for more work. So, like, please, sir, may I have some more? Like, my hands are too soft. I need more work. Stop. It's like, that's, and scene, that's over with. Like, none of that is the move. And we already know that. And to drive that point home further, we already work harder than previous generations by a long shot. But being disconnected from that work is the real issue here. You know, that's kind of the soul crushing part of working today, for me at least. You know, I'm not really connected to my work, and it's not even like I don't like the people that I work with, or I don't like doing work in general. I love doing stuff. I need something to do, or I'm going to get depressed type of situation for me. But it's the fact that we're so disconnected from our work that, like, the stuff we do every day kind of barely moves the ticker, you know, kind of barely moves the register a little bit when it comes to, like, you know, oh, I did something today. Like, yeah, I did something today, but did I do it for me? Who did I do it for? And in some cases, yeah, you can do it for you. I know for me, when I do it on my job, I do end up working, you know, on skills that better myself. And it takes some time to realize that, especially when I'm in a moment of being frustrated with a bad day at work or something like that. But I did cultivate some skills within myself that I can talk about to future employers, or just to, you know, use to better my life outside of work. But let's take a minute to think about, you know, what this does to the average person. You know, on average, we're seeing kind of, you know, more of these effects coming up now than ever before, at least in our short lifetimes, right? Because I know y'all heard about the warehouse incidents lately. And where do we think that, you know, comes from? It didn't come from a want for destruction. The average worker wants to be paid enough to live, so I'm being told from these clips, and the average worker isn't. Hell, the above average worker isn't. This does things to people, and what do people who are oppressed do? They lash out. What else are they going to do? And the dissolution of the contract of work is going to lead to a dissolution of the glue that kind of holds our lives together, holds society together in this modern day and age. We're going to see more and more results of people suffering under the absolute oppression of the modern wage, or the modern wage theft, as we really should be calling it. And think about it, you know, from that point, think about the mindset of people who are working their hardest and getting next to nothing from it. Honestly, getting nothing probably would feel better, because at least you're not hoping for more that you're not going to get. You know, right now it probably stings more for most people, at least for me, when I was working lower wage jobs, for sure, that I was putting in my hardest, and that old adage comes to mind that, you know, whether I work hard or not, it doesn't matter too much, because I still get paid the same amount in that hour. You know, I'm working for time and not for my effort. So it has me feeling pretty bereft of just work ethic overall in some cases, you know, and that's, you know, me speaking for the public here, but I can imagine most people feeling like that, especially in these warehouse jobs. You know, when I worked at a warehouse job, for example, it was fun, and I was younger, but it wasn't something that I saw myself making a career out of, mostly because the work dried up, and once the contracts are not flowing in, they start to let people go home early, you know, which is code for, there's nothing for you to do here today, so, you know, let's not pay you for the day. What? And that's one thing, and that really sucks. It's really inconsistent on that front, you know. But that was back in 2014, 2013 for me, when the economy was a bit more stable. Not by a lot, but by more than what we have now, to where you can actually, you know, kind of plan ahead for things. And now it's even worse, you know. The cost of wages have gone up, as we are well acquainted with, I'm sure. Cost of living, not cost of wages, sorry, has gone up, as I'm sure we're well acquainted with. And it's shot up well past our standard wages, as I don't really feel like I need to mention, but I'm going to mention it anyway, because it's kind of baked in every problem we have right now. And it's honestly more insulting that you get paid for almost nothing and aren't doing it for free, you know? It's insulting to a degree, or to agree to compensation and not get compensated equitably, to where you have to find a second job to cover what your first job doesn't make up for, and then find a third job so you can cover for what the first and second job doesn't make up for. Like, yes, on paper, we're exchanging services for commerce, but in practice, with the cost of living and a house becoming attainable, it's like a joke. It's really a cruel joke. And I hope that, you know, people stop laughing so we can stop telling the same joke over and over again. But with that being said, you know, I'm going to leave it here. This is a pretty dark one, I guess, but it really is kind of topical, because it's always topical and we should always be talking about this. So apologies for that, but, you know, I hope you guys enjoyed the game, or the gameplay here. I think I'm playing Ys. Oath of Felghana. I should be playing that. I've been playing a lot of that lately. Got a lot of footage of that one. Maybe I'm at the boss fight, maybe I'm not. But this is fun. I like playing Ys games because they're like, you know, RPGs in every sense of the word, but they're like one of those free roaming hack and slash type of RPGs. And those tend to, you know, those get me going, man. Those really get me going. You know, let me know how you guys feel about the video, and I'll drop, you know, maybe some lore about how I got into some of the games I get into. I try to keep it pretty varied on the channel here because I like a lot of games. But if you guys see one game, or maybe I just feel like talking about this, because Ys, this whole series started for me, and this will be the third game that I've gotten in this series or played in this series, which I'm also finding out is like the hardest one in the series. But I digress. I got into this by playing Ys Ark of Nepistim on PS2, which I got for Easter one year, because when my mom always would give me and my brothers games on Easter after we got too old for Easter baskets. So that was a pretty good spring break. And you know, me going to like Catholic schools or you know, religious schools or whatever you want to call it, our spring breaks were like right after Easter. So everybody else would be going back to school. We would just be freshly getting like a whole week of spring break right after Easter and getting Good Friday off. So it was pretty chill. I just got to lock into whatever game for like a week and then go crazy with it. And those are good times, good times to be on PS2 for sure. But let me know how you feel about this. Let me know how you feel about these yapping segments at the end. I do fuck with them. I like, you know, talking to y'all and just, you know, getting off a script or my notes and stuff and just talking to everybody about what's going on with my games, man. I'm really playing these joints, and I'm glad, because not playing it for a long time is pretty sad. But you know, in this video off with a smile, not a frown. I hope you guys are great, and let me know how you feel. Much love, and I'll talk to you later.